Come on, join in. Here we are again. Hello everyone. It is lovely to see you here. As you can see outside the window, we have a gloomy, wet day. It really does look rather unpleasant outside. However, we have 14 Celsius today. That is the temperature right now here in the birthplace of the English language, which is, of course, England. We are back together again with another super duper live stream. Where are you? Are you there? I hope so. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you feeling happy? I hope you are feeling happy. Are you wearing one of these on your face at the moment? I really hope you are. I don't want to see this. I want to see this instead. Turn your frown upside down and show your best side with your super duper smile. Here we go again. My name is Mr. Duncan. I live in England. You may have heard of this country that I'm in for various reasons. Most would appear to be bad reasons. I don't know why. But I live in England. I talk about the English language. English is still very popular as a second language. However, there are other languages that other people like to speak as well, including French, Spanish, also a very popular second language, German as well. I remember at school, German was taught to some of the students at high school, the high school that I attended. So German was taught, French was also taught in my high school. But these days there are many other languages that people are speaking as their second language. So some people, they feel as if they want to learn another language because they are interested in that particular language, or maybe they have plans to go and travel to a particular place. For example, England. So you might be coming here, in which case you will need to have some standard of English, especially if you are planning to come here and study or work. You do need to have a good level of English. It is ever so important. I can't stress that enough. But it is interesting to see how many people now are learning second or even third languages. Some people are very clever. They are what is known as a polyglot. A person who is a polyglot is a person who can speak many languages. They are very good at doing all of those things. They can listen, they can speak, they can understand, they can converse with people in many different parts of the world. Sadly, I am not a polyglot, unfortunately. It's lovely to be back with you again on this very strange day. We have rain, we have murky weather, cloud, but it's so warm, 14 Celsius. And I suppose I should also mention the fact that we are in a new month. Hello, February. Be honest. Come on, tell me. Do you like February? Now, to be honest, I don't like it. I don't like January or February. March when March arrives, I always notice that the weather starts to get more pleasant, more sunshine and longer days. So I do like that very much. Hello to the live chat. I don't want to forget the live chat because that would be ever so rude, don't you think? Hello, Mega Kaka. Oh, this is very unusual. I don't think you have ever been first on the live chat before. So can I say congratulations, Mega? A super big thumbs up to you for being first on today's live chat. Vitas is here, of course. He is usually the champion on the live chat. Also, Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice. Are you at home? Are you with your relatives? Or are you up in the mountains enjoying the view? Please let me know. Maroots is here. We also have Francesca. Hello, Francesca. Or should I say Francesca? I always mispronounce your name. Naughty, Mr. Duncan. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Also, Mustaf is here as well. Mustafa or Mustaf. Hello to you as well. Christina. Olga. Hello to you as well. Palmyra. Regina is here. Hello to you also. Nice to see you here. Pushkar is watching on the live chat. Hello to you. We have a lot of things to talk about today. We are talking about good and bad. You may have noticed from the thumbnail on today's live stream. I will show it for you now, just in case you haven't noticed it. So there it is, today's live lesson. In today's live stream, we will be talking about being naughty and being nice, being good and being bad. Of course, you can see that I am the angel because I'm always good. And you can see the little sprite on the right. That is Mr. Steve, because quite often he is very, very naughty. Talking of which, for those who are wondering, yes, Mr. Steve will be here a little bit later on. I'm going to put it on the screen if I can find it. Yes, Mr. Steve will be here soon, in around about 20 minutes from now. 15 minutes. Let's call it 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, don't worry, Mr. Steve will be here. For those who think that Mr. Steve is not coming on, he is. He will be here very, very soon. In fact, there he is. You can see he's warming up in the corner of the studio doing his super cool dance moves. So Steve coming at around about 2:30 UK time. It's ever so nice to see you here today. Who else is here? Doppelganger. Hello, Doppelganger. It's very nice to see you here. Interesting word, doppelganger. Do you know what a doppelganger is? It is the double of another person, a person who looks like another person. Quite often an exact copy, a copy of another person. Not a clone, that is different. Another person who looks identical to an individual. Can you imagine looking like me? I wonder how easy your life would be if you look like this. Well, I can tell you now, it wouldn't be easy. It really wouldn't. You would have such a hard time if your face looked like this. Trust me, no one ever takes you seriously. But that is another story. Oh, we also have Pedro Belmont. Hello, Pedro. Thank you very much for joining us here. Very nice to see you. Pedro makes a very interesting point. The languages of diplomacy in the United Nations are English, French, Spanish, Russian, Arabic and Mandarin. So they are probably viewed as the main languages for discourse. When we talk about discourse, we are talking about conversation, talking between each other. Discourse means conversation. So we often see certain languages as being popular or formal, would be another word to use as well, I suppose. We also have Saturino. Hello, Saturino. Hello, Marcia as well. Nice to see you back. Nice to see you back here on the live stream today. Giovanni is here as well. Oh my goodness, so many people joining in. I can't name everyone. I apologise if I miss your name out. Please don't get angry with me and come round to my house and start throwing eggs at my window. Please don't do that. Coming up today, we have Mr. Steve. We're talking about various things. I thought we would start off with something fun. A topic of conversation that might not seem very important to some people, but to be honest with you, it is everything to me. It means so much, in fact. The question, first of all, today, because Mr. Steve and myself last night, we were sitting eating chocolate and we were discussing whether or not we preferred orange or mint. And by that, I mean the flavour of chocolate. So what about you? Do you like mint chocolate or do you prefer orange chocolate? So quite often you can get two different flavours of chocolate. The most common ones being mint or orange. I have to be honest with you. In the past, I would always like orange chocolate, orange flavour chocolate. In fact, I have some right here. Would you like to have a look at my supply of chocolate? I know someone is going to tell me off. They are going to say, Mr. Duncan, you should not eat food like that. So there you can see part of my supply of chocolate. And look, these are actually Easter eggs. It's too early for Easter. So these were for sale yesterday in the shop here in Much Wenlock. And these are orange flavour, which of course I do like. I like orange flavour very much. However, recently my taste has changed. More recently, I've started eating mint chocolate, mint flavoured chocolate. I don't know why. I've become a little bit addicted to the flavour of mint. So what about you? Which do you prefer? Do you like mint chocolate, which I think a lot of people do like, or do you like orange chocolate? Personally, I think I prefer mint. I've really become quite addicted to it because there is a certain chocolate bar at the moment that you can get in mint flavour. And I have to say, it is very nice indeed. I really do love mint chocolate. In fact, to be honest with you, if I was honest with you, I like all chocolate, regardless of the flavour, to be honest. As long as it's not coffee. I can't stand coffee flavour. Does anyone like coffee flavoured chocolate? It is absolutely disgusting. So that is the one that I can't eat. I don't like coffee flavoured chocolate. It is absolutely horrible. It is vile. It is, I know this is a very strong word, it is actually disgusting. But I do like mint chocolate and I also like orange chocolate. What about you? Olga says, I have lots of chocolate bars in my refrigerator. It seems all people decide to give me chocolate for the New Year's celebrations this year. So I have enough supply for the rest of this year. Olga, all I can say is I am feeling rather jealous. Of course, one of the problems, if you happen to live in a hot country, one of the worst things about chocolate is you have to keep it cold all the time or else it melts. So if you do live in a very hot country, you have to always keep your chocolate in the refrigerator or else it will melt, it will spoil, it will go bad, which is not very nice at all. Alexander says, do you drink coffee? Yes, well, that's the strange thing. You are right. That is a very good question. I will answer the question. I do like coffee, but I don't like coffee-flavoured chocolate. Is that weird? Is that a bit strange, I wonder? Francesca, do you know Nutella, Mr. Duncan? I do, but I don't like it. So that is a kind of spread. It's a bit like peanut butter, but instead it tastes like hazelnuts and chocolate, and you spread it on your bread. But I will be honest with you, I don't like Nutella. Mr. Steve likes it, but I don't. So there are certain flavours of chocolate that I actually don't like at all. Coffee, I think, is the worst. If you give me mint or orange, I will have both of those, thank you very much, but not coffee. In fact, sometimes at Christmas, people will give lots of packets or boxes of chocolates, and they will be all different flavours, or maybe the inside of the chocolate will be different. Some of them are soft and some of them are very hard. But there are always ones that people don't like. And my least favourite is coffee. I do not like coffee flavoured chocolate. Not at all. Which is strange when you think about it, because I do like drinking coffee. Isn't that strange? Saturina says, Mr. Duncan, you can match orange liqueur and dark chocolate. Isn't that strange? You are right. Now, there is a type of drink, a type of liqueur, which is often a sweet alcoholic drink. There is one called Baileys. I do like that. I have to be honest. Can I whisper this in your ear? I do like it. I like Baileys liqueur very much. It's very nice. Yes, Mr. Steve's mother used to like drinking that. Alexander says, I am not a very big fan of Nutella. I don't know why. I don't really like it. And a lot of people, of course, like eating chocolate with nuts inside. And again, I'm not very keen on that. I'm not very keen. I like my chocolate to be pure with no hard bits inside, to be honest. Palmyra, you are right. Palmyra, you are right. I do not like Ferrero Rocher. It is a type of, I suppose you would describe it as a type of chocolate with nuts and also wafer, and it's all of these strange things combined, but they are absolutely disgusting. I don't like Ferrero Rocher. In fact, many years ago, when I was asking people for Christmas gifts, I would tell them, I would make them know that under no circumstances should you buy me any Ferrero Rocher, because I will send them back to you. I will come back to your house the next morning and I will push them through your letterbox and give them back. That's how much I don't like them. Pedro, during your trip to Turkey, Mr. Duncan, did you try the Turkish sand coffee or the Turkish bath? Now, the second time we went to Turkey, they did offer a free Turkish bath. Mr. Steve had one, but I didn't, because I'm a little uncomfortable being in an environment where maybe someone is going to massage or touch me, to be honest. But Mr. Steve had it. He said it was very hot, very steamy, and very sticky. I don't know what he means by that, but apparently, yes, a Turkish bath is supposed to be very good for the skin. I think so. I did try the coffee, by the way. So the coffee and tea in Turkey is actually very nice. It's incredibly strong as well. So I don't mind that. It is weird, isn't it? So it is strange. Sometimes the things we enjoy don't make sense. We might like something for a certain reason, but we might not like something else that's very similar for a different reason. It's very strange. So I think sometimes the taste that we have for a certain thing, sometimes you might say that it does not make any sense. And I would agree with you, to be honest. So we are doing something unusual today. We are looking at good and bad. The subject is one that might create a few moments of discomfort, awkwardness, maybe. Perhaps you might feel a little uncomfortable with some of the subjects that we are talking about today, maybe. Things that are seen as good and things that are seen as bad. Of course, sometimes good and bad can be subjective. So one thing that is bad to a certain individual might not be bad to someone else. So that is what we are looking at today. Mr. Steve will be joining us in a few moments. Yes, he will be here. So don't worry. Steve will be joining us in a couple of minutes from now. But first of all, we'll have a quick break and then we will be right back with more of this. lot of people love this video and the videos with the cows, so I hope that has put a smile on your face. Talking of which... we are back together. Oh, hello, there you are. So here we are. This is English Addict. For those who don't know what this is, we talk about the English language. We also have a little bit of fun as well sometimes. You might be pleased to hear that fun and laughter is still legal. So you can still have fun, you can still smile and laugh. So all of those things are allowed right here on my YouTube channel. Here he is then, back by popular demand from his parole board. It is the man who, well, all I can say is he has a very big fan base and everyone now is waiting for him to appear. And I suppose the big question would be, what is your favourite flavour of chocolate, Mr. Steve? Well, all of that will be answered right now because here he is.
Good afternoon to everybody. It's good afternoon from us because it is afternoon here. A welcome from me for you lovely viewers across the globe. How do I look today? Mr. Duncan's been adjusting the lights.
This is true.
Because there are a lot of comments that I looked ill.
Yes. In fact, can I just say, Steve, there was a bit of a conspiracy going on. People were saying that I was doing it on purpose to make you look. But it wasn't true. It took me a long time to adjust Mr. Steve's camera. And even today, I think today Steve looks better than I do. I look all dark and in the shadows. And Mr. Steve is in the glorious light.
What do you think?
So
what's the verdict?
You look good.
Good.
Yes.
I feel good, Mr. Duncan, although I may be reaching for the tissues every now and then.
Why?
Because for some reason, my nose won't stop running today. I think I'm coming down with something.
Oh, no, you're not.
You know when they say... Well, I don't think I am, but I'm just saying that because you know when you feel a bit under the weather?
Yeah.
A bit sniffly.
Like all the time?
It feels like you're coming down with something. We say that when we think we might have a cold coming or a flu type thing or a sore throat. That's how I feel today, Mr. Duncan. I felt a bit thick in my head. A thick head. Thick head, it means you can't think properly, a bit sort of, blocked. So, I don't know, as I say, I might be reaching for the tissues every now and then just to...
as long as that's the only reason.
just to blow my nose.
Anyway, Mr. Steve is here. He's joining us live in his comfortable corner. I suppose I should show you the comfortable corner. A lot of people like Mr. Steve's comfortable corner. Look at that. I went to so much trouble to create that corner for Mr. Steve, so he looks all lovely and he feels relaxed as well. So it's very nice to see you back here, Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve, Mr. Steve.
I'm almost too relaxed, Mr. Duncan, although I've been taking extra doses of vitamin D.
Okay.
And I've got a half-sucked zinc tablet here.
Thank goodness for that.
Because... it's supposed to help with flu and cold symptoms. I don't think it will develop into anything, but
Steve, does it help with hypochondria?
No, but these are the things. If you read about how to prevent colds and flus, they always refer to 3 or 4 things, don't they? The first is vitamin C, which doesn't work because I've tried that lots of times. I've tried 100 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams. Doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. So I don't think that works. And anyway, it's been proved in scientific trials it doesn't work. The other one is zinc tablets. Now, I don't think these really work anyway, but I take them because it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
But vitamin D, I think, really does, because since I've been taking it, then I've had much reduced severity. In fact, I haven't had a single cold or flu this entire winter.
Well, it sounds like
very unusual for me.
Steve, you've just proved that it doesn't work.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
Well, because you said you've got a cold coming.
Well, yes, but normally I've had 3 or 4 by now. Every winter, Mr. Duncan, you know that.
Okay.
So I think that is helping, and there is evidence for that. The other one is echinacea, but that doesn't seem to work either. So I'm sticking to the vitamin D. I'm still taking the zinc tablet.
Steve,
so let's see what happens.
Steve.
Right, chocolate, Mr. Duncan.
Oh, stop banging.
Chocolate does not help with your throat.
No, it doesn't. It's one of the worst things you can eat. Is chocolate. So I was talking earlier about favourite flavours, and at the moment I'm going through a mint chocolate phase with my taste in chocolate. But I would say that, I think you like nutty things, don't you?
Yes, I like pralines. I like chocolate with nuts, hazelnuts. I like Cadbury's Fruit and Nut. And yes, fruit and nut, which has got sort of raisins and sort of chopped hazelnuts in it, which I like. I like that combination with chocolates. I like peanuts covered in chocolate. I like broccoli covered in chocolate, carrots covered in chocolate, anything covered in chocolate.
Yeah, that's it, basically.
But yeah, nuts and chocolate, they seem to go together. I don't know why they do, but anything with nuts in it, it's a winner with me in terms of taste with chocolate. And dark chocolate or biscuit, chocolate and nuts together. So I used to like what we called marathon bars, but we're now called Snicker bars.
Yes.
Because it's peanuts, chocolate, and there's no biscuit in it. But if there was biscuit in it, that would be even better.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve, we've got questions coming through about the English language, because that is what we do.
We've got quite a lot about the chocolate.
Just a sec, Steve. I've got a question coming through about the English language. The English, how do you pronounce iron? Now, a type of metal, or of course a thing you can do when you are getting rid of the creases from your clothes. Some people pronounce iron as iron, and it is true. So you might hear, in American English, you might hear some people say iron instead of iron, a type of metal. But generally speaking, most people will say iron. Iron.
Like the R doesn't exist. It's a silent R.
Yes. So for some people it is a silent letter, and others they actually pronounce it. But to be honest with you, you might find that many people favour the silent R. Iron.
I've never heard anyone in my entire life pronounce iron as iron. If you did, people would look at you in a very strange way in the UK.
Yes. But
maybe Scotland.
It is common also in the USA. You will hear people use iron. But
there's something wrong with them, Mr. Duncan.
Yes. Well, there isn't anything wrong with them.
I'm joking.
Okay, that's good.
Ion. Yes, don't pronounce the R. Silent R.
Yes. Even though some people do. Beatrice, we are crossing a very hot heat wave here. In spite of that, my brother and sister have a strong cold. Well, you might be surprised to find out how many people become ill with fever during hot weather, because of course a lot of bugs and viruses like to generate and multiply when it is warm. So we often think of cold weather as being the time when a lot of people get ill with fever, but also during the summer you can get summer colds as well, and sometimes they can be really horrible as well. They can take a long time to shake off. Mr. Steve, today we are looking at a very interesting subject, and there is the thumbnail. I do like that. So you can see I am the sweet, innocent Mr. Duncan. You can see my angel wings. And on the right, the naughty sprite is Mr. Steve. Because I think sometimes Mr. Steve can be a little bit of a devil. It's true. So that's what we're talking about a little bit later on. Naughty or nice, good and bad.
Don't be fooled by those angel wings on Mr. Duncan.
Is that it?
Yeah, sorry. It's difficult when you're over there to know when I can interject.
Oh no, that wasn't what I meant. I didn't mean that. I meant I thought you were going to start assassinating my good character.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
There's a good word for you. Interject. Interject. If we're teaching English, I just used a word there. I should explain it, shouldn't I, Mr. Duncan?
You should.
So if someone's talking, or a group of people are talking, and you want to say something, and you sort of interrupt and say something, then that means you are interjecting. You are. Is that right, Mr. Duncan?
Yes. So to butt in or interrupt. So whilst I'm talking, Mr. Steve might suddenly interrupt. He interjects. He starts to speak whilst I am still speaking because he wants to make his point. And so it can happen. Quite often in debates, people will interject. They will interrupt each other whilst they are talking. So it can happen quite often.
Yes.
We also have a little game coming up, Mr. Steve.
Okay.
We've got to keep on format. We've got a game coming up. Is it good or is it bad? I'm going to name some things later on, and we have to decide whether that thing is good or bad.
So we don't mean, is the game good or bad?
No.
We're assuming the game is going to be good.
It better be. It better be.
Because you said we're going to play a game, is it good or bad?
Yeah.
But you didn't mean the game. You meant the game is called, is it good or is it bad? Just to explain
Yes.
that we're not saying we're going to play a bad game.
When we talk about good or bad, we often talk about our own opinions as to whether something is good or bad. And I think that does happen. So we often talk about our moral compass. It is an interesting phrase that we use in English. A person's moral compass.
Yes.
So it is the way we guide ourselves through this vale of tears. So quite often we will have our own opinions about certain things, maybe certain types of behaviour, maybe a certain type of action. And we might ourselves decide whether we believe that thing is good or bad. Generally speaking, I think it is fair to say, Mr. Steve, that generally we all have a very similar moral compass. Most of us will agree on what is good and what is bad, things that we see around us, obvious things that are definitely bad things to do, and of course obvious things that are good to do. So we often talk about our moral compass when we are talking about the way in which people see what is right and what is wrong. And you might say that it's a bit like finding your way, isn't it, Steve, on a map? You might have to decide which is the right direction to go in. And the same thing can also apply to your actions. You have to decide whether you are going to do the good thing or the bad thing. You have to decide what your moral compass is.
And sometimes it's difficult. It's obvious with certain things, but with other things, killing, murdering is obviously bad. But some things are much more subtle than that. Subtle. And in everyday life, sometimes, well, I don't know, here's a little example. If you're working for a company, is it morally right for you to, take pens out of the stationery cupboard for your own use and take them home, or paper, things like that? Where would your moral compass be on that sort of thing? There's lots of little subtleties.
Yes.
That could be applied. That some people might say, well, it's if you work for a company, if it's there, use it. It's all part of the perks of the job. But other people might say, no, that's dishonest. It's stealing. But the stealing, and then there's different grades of it, isn't there? It's subtle. It's not always clear cut.
So that
breaking into somebody's house.
Okay, we don't want to give too many examples because this is literally literally what we're going to be talking about in a little while when we play our game. We are looking at things later that may or may not be good or bad. But some people might have the opposite opinion. When we go down this road, you don't know what you are going to find. And that's what we are going to look at in a few moments of time.
By the way, Rhubarb asks, hello Rhubarb, does the word squirrel have 1 or 2 syllables?
That's an interesting one. Squirrel. So I would say that if you are going to break the sound of that word down, you might say that it has 3 syllables, because the S sound could be defined as a separate sound. Squirrel. So it could be 3, but I would say if we are going to just divide the word itself, squirrel. So I would say that it was 2 syllables, but if you wanted to be really fussy and pedantic, it could be 3. Squirrel. Squirrel. So it depends really. It is strange how certain sounds of letters can be divided from other sounds within a word, and it produces an extra syllable. But I would say squirrel, which by the way has more than one meaning. Did you know that the word squirrel can also be a verb as well? To hide something away, to keep something safe for a later date, just like a squirrel when it gathers its food in winter. So if you squirrel something, it means you are putting it away, you are hiding it away in a safe place. Ooh.
Like money, for example.
Yes.
You might squirrel, it's a difficult word to pronounce, squirrel away your savings under the bed or into some kind of savings, but generally hidden so nobody else can find it, only you know where it is.
Yes.
Mr. Duncan's been known to squirrel away chocolate. So he hides it. And I have found evidence that Mr. Duncan sometimes... Look, there we go.
Look, there is evidence. So here is a little bag of Easter eggs. Can you believe it, by the way? We're already talking about Easter. I've only just recovered from Christmas. And already everyone's talking about Easter. So these were in the shop yesterday. Orange chocolate eggs, especially for Easter time. But you are right, Steve. I do it. I do. I will hold my hand up now and admit that sometimes I do hide chocolate from Mr. Steve so I can eat it by myself like a little squirrel. So you're right.
Yes, Rhubarb says some Americans pronounce it in 1 syllable. Yes, I expect it depends on the pronunciation. Squirrel. They might go squirrel, mightn't they? It might be more slurred in American speech.
Again, this is more about accents than the actual pronunciation, because you might find the same thing here in the UK. So certain English words in the UK will also be pronounced differently. So it's very risky when we divide British English and American English, because quite often it is not about the difference of location. It is more precisely connected to the accent that is used at the time. So I always think that this is a very interesting part of English, and it's also one that's quite controversial as well. A lot of people do start arguing and fighting over which one is better, or whether or not there is more than one English. As I always say, don't forget, there is only one English language, only one. But the pronunciation and spelling can be different in both British English and American English. But there is only one root, which is the English language, only one.
I think most people would say it's got at least 2 syllables.
Yes.
No matter what language, or you couldn't pronounce squirrel in one. There's no such thing as 1 syllable, squirrel. It's two. It would be two, but it might sound like one because of, as Mr. Duncan says, because of the accent and the particular way it's pronounced.
And an interesting thing is that there are very few one-syllable words.
Yeah.
Very few. So when you think about it, there are actually very few one-syllable words. Oh, Mr. Duncan, you may have just blown my mind there. Have I blown your mind, baby? Did I blow it? Did I blow it? I hope so. So we are talking about good and bad today, Mr. Steve. Would you say that you are a good person or a bad person? Not you, Steve. I'm not talking to you there, just in case you're wondering. But would you say you are a good person? I think it's very hard. I think it is very hard to say whether or not you as an individual. So if you look at yourself as a person, Mr. Steve, I think it's very hard to judge whether you are good or bad, because if you think back over your life, I'm pretty sure you can think of things that you've done that have been good, and maybe things that you've done that have been bad.
Maybe. Go on, Mr. Duncan.
No, carry on.
Maybe, if you're in prison, then that's probably a fairly good indication that you're bad. But of course, you can be bad and not go to prison because you've got away with the crime. But yes, we all do bad things. It depends what you mean by bad, doesn't it? Which we'll come on to.
Yes. Well, this is it. This is the whole moral compass.
There are degrees of badness and degrees of goodness, and you might do a lot of bad things, but they might not necessarily be breaking laws.
Anyway, again, we're going to step all over what we're talking about in a few moments. So we're going to have a break for a couple of minutes, and then we will be back. Don't worry, we will be back. Don't go away. Don't click away. Don't start watching something else. Don't go to your TikToks. Don't go to your Instagrams. Stay right here on YouTube, on this channel, please. Do not go anywhere. Oh, you are actually, can I just say, Steve, I think I've got the camera perfect there. Do you think?
Yes. I was just doing this for Pedro. Pedro says he likes to see my fingers.
Okay.
So this is just for Pedro.
These are my fingers, by
I know. Hang on. That's for Pedro. Oh, Mr. Duncan, let me put it back on.
I was wondering. You know, when we first exchanged these rings, I was wondering how long it would be before we started throwing them at each other, because it is a bit like a cliche. You often see it in movies where when a couple start arguing, maybe one person will take their ring off and they will throw it at the other person. But you'll be pleased to hear we haven't done that yet. We've come very close to it.
Oh.
But we haven't done it yet.
Figure, not fingers, figure.
Oh.
Okay. I thought that was strange.
After all that.
Thought that was a bit strange.
But there are people who are...
It looked like finger from... I read it too quickly.
But there are people, Steve, who are excited by fingers. They like to look at photographs and feet. Did you know that? Isn't that weird?
Yes.
The internet is a very strange place. There are apparently people who are very excited when they look at other people's feet. There are some people who make a lot of money just from showing their feet.
Figure is what Pedro meant. So apologies for that.
Oh, yes.
But yes, some people do like. You can make a living, can't you, from your hands?
Yes.
If you've got attractive hands, you can be like a hand modeler.
Yeah.
And your hand is used in photographs of products like rings, bracelets, things like that. If you've got particularly nice looking hands, which I don't think I have because my hands are a bit sort of stubby. Not stubby, they're a bit sort of bulky, I would say. It's supposed to be an indication of something when you look at your fingers on a man. But anyway. But anyway, I'm being bad, Mr. Duncan.
Are you? If you say so.
Yes.
So yes, it is interesting. Some people do become very excited by certain parts of the body. It is now coming up to 3 o'clock. We are going to have a quick break, and I thought something we haven't done for a long time, and the fact that Pedro is here, I thought today it would be a great opportunity to take a look at those lovely fluttering flags of the world. And then after that, we are back live with more of this. I don't know where Mr. Steve has gone. Where have you gone, Steve? Why did you go away for? I'm literally standing here waiting for Steve to come back. There he is. There was not. No, the flag was fluttering and I was waiting patiently for Steve to return. But there he is. You are watching English Addict and this is Sunday afternoon live. Live! Isn't it incredible? I love technology so much and we can talk to you live at 3 minutes past 3 o'clock on Sunday. It is, of course, a new month. February is here and a certain man is celebrating his birthday in a few days from now. I won't say who it is, but it's him over there. It's Mr. Steve. A few days? Well, it is a few days. It's the 4th now. So it's basically 12 days from now, on the 16th.
But few, that's an interesting, when you use the word few.
A few, yes, that's fine. That's fine. Are we going to start splitting these things? A few. No, there are a few people at the door. A few can be several. It can be 8 or 9. if you are expecting a lot, there might just be a few. So instead of 100 people, there are just a few people. So it might be 10 or 12 people. So it's all about the comparison between the other number. So there are 28, I think it's 28 days this month. So when you take 14 out of that, it's only a few. It's only a few. It's not all of them. So it is quite often in proportion with whatever the alternative is in that situation.
I won't argue, Mr. Duncan.
It's just as well, really. By the way, if you want to give me a like, please give me a like. Show you care. Wear your heart on your sleeve. And please give me one of these lovely likes underneath this video. And then maybe someone will actually get to see the stuff that I make. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh,
yes. Like Mr. Duncan's video.
Lewis Mendez. Lewis Mendez is going.
Olga says that she can't hear me very well.
Yes, there is a reason for that, because you were late. I had your microphone ready and I had to turn it down.
Why?
Okay.
Anyway, right, we'll go into the technical details.
So that's why if you're not here, you see, it causes problems.
Well, anyway, people are still saying they can't hear me.
I know, because there's a 30-second delay.
Right, okay.
Okay, Steve, how long have you been doing this? Today we are looking at good and bad, bad and good. Some people are good and some people are bad. Some people are bad sometimes and some people are good sometimes, which of course means that at other times they can be bad and good. But generally speaking, I would like to think, Steve, I think that most people on the planet, generally speaking, are good. I think so. Would you say?
I think so, because otherwise society would break down, wouldn't it? There's a good discussion I've often had and seen debates around, what effect is religion having? So often an argument...
Religion? Well, who mentioned religion?
Well, I'm mentioning it.
Okay.
And if you'd let me finish, you would have understood what I was talking about. Is that a lot of people in support of religion say that we need religion. That's what gives us our morals. That's what makes us good, all that type of thing. But in fact, a lot of studies have been shown that even in that being good and being not doing bad things is actually sort of like an innate thing. That in societies where there is no religion, there isn't generally any more crime or any more bad things happening, because we all recognise that if we're to get on in society and survive...
I'm trying to think of a country that hasn't... Well, which country?
Then, let me finish, Mr. Duncan.
I can't think of a country that has no religion.
Then we just automatically... We don't need religion for moral guidance, is what the argument is saying.
Yeah. So
we automatically, in order to survive...
Steve, I'm just trying to ask you a question. Where are the countries that have no religion?
No, they've studied like tribes and things like that. And China for a start doesn't. Well, I mean, there's always, that's the argument that we don't. Do you need religion for moral guidance? But we're not really getting into that. But it's to do with being bad and good. Yeah. And the answer seems to be that when you do, I don't know all the studies inside out, Mr. Duncan.
No.
But when you look at it, it seems that you don't necessarily need it, because people will automatically. Because, if you just go around stealing things from people and murdering people, people will get in their own back, there'll be retribution, and society wouldn't function. Then everybody sort of, there's always a sort of a balance in society.
But then some religions teach that you should have retribution, and you should.
Well, certainly the Old Testament used to, but, if we think about Christian religions, but...
Well, what I'm trying to say here is now you might be surprised to hear this, Steve, but I can see why religion is a thing. I can see why it is. I'm not religious myself, but I can still stand back and I can still see the perspective of why and how it all came about in the first place. So yes, mankind, humankind, personkind, I'm not sure what the term is nowadays that we use, but originally, of course, we were all fairly primitive and savage. So I suppose, and this is how I view it, it's only my opinion, I would say that religion was always a building block or maybe a foundation for civilization to actually refer to. And so it allows human beings and it allows people to develop a certain type of civil behaviour. So I can see it, even though I'm often accused of being anti-religious. I'm not anti-religious. Everyone has a little bit of spirituality inside, even me, I suppose. So even if you're not religious, you can still have a little bit of spirituality. I can still enjoy the cornfield without having to buy the cornflakes, if that makes sense. That was very profound, wasn't it? So I can still run in the field of corn. I don't have to have a particular religion that is in a nice container to connect to. So I think we're all a bit spiritual inside, even me. Wow, how about that?
There's nothing coming through on the live chat, so I don't know if it's broken.
Nothing? Oh, I see.
Not for a while.
Oh, let me just see.
Can you hear us and see us?
Yes, we're going out. Yes.
Good, that's good. Perhaps people are so enthralled by what we're saying that they haven't got time to write. That's what I'm assuming.
Steve. It's a very strange thing to draw attention to. No, it's fine. I think everyone's just enjoying our conversation. That's what's happening, Steve, at the moment, right here on YouTube.
Well, anyway, right.
So we're having a conversation, Steve. Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm here, Mr. Duncan. I'm right here.
Okay. I wasn't sure what was happening there. You seem to just go off. It's not like it really is not like that. People are always worship something or someone. Yes, I think so. Well, I think that's fine. Well, the Romans did. The Greeks did. They had all of their gods. They had a god for everything, didn't they, Steve?
They did. I think if you look at people in general, society in general, most people like to follow. 80% of people like to follow. They don't like to lead. So if somebody comes up with a way to live, quite often people will follow it because it's just, most people just want an easy life.
Yeah.
It's just easier. You know, you don't want to have to construct your own way of living. So there's something there already made, and most people seem to be doing it. You'll probably go along with it because it's just easier for most people. If you look at society in general, I've read things about this, 80% of people just want to follow. Yeah. They don't want to lead.
Well, this is the reason why dictatorships are always popular. We always think, why would anyone vote for a dictatorship? But one of the main reasons is because life then is easier. You don't have to think so much about the decisions or things around you. And I think that's happened to a certain degree in the United States. And that doesn't mean that people don't think. It just means it's easier to give someone else the responsibility. So your vote is going towards that end, if that makes sense. But I always think that it is interesting when we talk about good and bad, how we split those things up. But sometimes it's very hard to put them in a certain place because one person's right is another person's wrong. One person's normal behaviour would be another person's abnormal behaviour. So it is very strange. I always find that a very interesting subject, which is what we're talking about today, Mr. Steve.
And Palmyra says, I love to visit churches, I think is what you mean, Palmyra, especially when travelling, but I'm not religious.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Me
Going
too.
Into a big cathedral or a church, or it is like we went to the Sacré-Cœur in Paris. They're beautiful buildings. people have been inspired by their religion to build these temples, like the pyramids, a similar thing. And maybe that's what's good about religions in a way, that they, because we wouldn't have these wonderful buildings, would we?
No. But the interesting things, I also like going to churches. I made a video a few years ago when I went to Lichfield. I was recording a lesson all about Samuel Johnson, and they have a beautiful cathedral in Lichfield, and I did do some filming there at the actual cathedral. And I love places like that. I'm always interested in things that are, especially when they are large or larger than they normally are. And when you look at cathedrals, I think Cologne, is it Cologne? They have the most amazing.
Yes, I visited Cologne Cathedral.
Yes.
It's gigantic. I think it took something like 400 years to build or something.
Yes, it's just incredible.
It is phenomenal. But of course you can separate religion from the belief in a creator. They're two different things.
Yes, I don't want to really go.
We're not getting into that, I know, but that's why I think when like Palmyra said that you can go to a church because there is a certain atmosphere, isn't there? A certain spirit, an atmosphere that may be, I don't know, it may be the spirit of the creator, but it doesn't mean that you have to subscribe to that particular religion.
I get the same feeling in the graveyard, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a feeling, and you can believe in a creator or not, but you don't have to subscribe to a religion to believe in a creator. Is the point? That is the point. Or you can be atheist. It's one of those things. That's not.
Yes. Anyway, that's not actually the subject, but I know what you mean, Steve. I know what you mean. I've got you. Okay, we've got to move on because we've got today's big. It's a big one, by the way. Today, it's a very big one. So we're looking at good and bad. So if you could look at the screen, Steve, because things are coming up on the screen right now. So when we look at good things, generally speaking. So this is general. This is not about opinions just yet. In a few moments we will be looking at opinions. But when we talk about good in the general sense, we are looking at what is positive things. So good, generally speaking, is seen as positive, the state of doing the right thing, which I think is a very good way of putting it. I don't think there is a better way of defining good than the state of doing the right thing. Quite often, the thing that is the best way or the most logical way is quite often seen as the good way as well, the best way, the most efficient way of doing something. I suppose also we should look at the bad as well, Mr. Steve. We will be doing that. I know a lot of people don't want to. Oh dear. So the bad is often negative, bad things, bad decisions, bad choices. Doing something that is seen as bad is the state of doing the wrong thing. So there might be many situations, Steve, where you might find that sometimes you have to make a choice between good and bad. Something you have to decide. Is there a word you could use to describe that feeling?
Your moral compass?
If you have a choice to make.
Dilemma?
Very good. Yes. A dilemma. So quite often when we can't decide whether something is good or something is bad, you might find that you have to make a decision based on what you feel is right. You might have a dilemma. So I think that's a great word. A dilemma or dilemma. Some people pronounce it differently. And could you think of a situation, Steve, where you might have a moral dilemma, where you have to decide what is right and what is wrong?
Yes, yes, you could be. I'm going to think of a work situation here.
That's fine.
Where I might be purchasing some sandwiches. No, I won't use that example.
No, that's probably not a good
probably
example.
Not a good example.
Here's a good example. I've got one.
Go on, Mr. Duncan.
That's a terrible. I know exactly where you were going.
I could
there,
be dropping myself in it,
and that could get you the what we call.
Well, it could be one like I mentioned earlier.
Anyway,
you know, you're at work and there's a stationery cupboard, and you want some pens or some paper clips for home, and they're there. There's boxes of them at work. They won't notice a few of them. Do you just take a few home with you, for a few bits of paper or a printer ink, maybe a Bic pen? Do you take it home, put it in your bag because you want a pen at home? That could be a moral dilemma because you're at work. Is it stealing?
I was thinking of something slightly more dramatic, saving a person's life.
Oh, right, okay, then.
Maybe if there is a moral dilemma, and this is a big one, because last week, by the way, we talked about a very big moral dilemma, which was, of course, euthanasia, and I did get some lovely messages come through. I meant to mention this earlier. We had some lovely messages come through saying, Mr. Duncan, it was nice to hear you talk about this particular subject because it's not easy to talk about. Euthanasia can be seen as a moral dilemma.
Yes.
You are having to make a choice between one thing that may seem bad compared to something that would appear to be more preferable. So it is interesting. So I think euthanasia is one of those things that could be described as a moral dilemma. You are having to make a choice, but both of those choices might be negative as an outcome. So you have to make a decision.
Yes.
To a group of people, that thing might seem bad or wrong, but to another group of people, it will seem right or justified.
Yes, I mean, the doctor certainly has the dilemma. Somebody's going to die. They've got a terminal illness, but they're suffering. They're going to die anyway. Do you end their life a bit earlier to save their suffering, or do you let them suffer? Some religious people would say you need to suffer and you mustn't interfere. Whereas some sort of humanists might say, well, that person's suffering, they're going to die anyway. You know, it's cruel to let them suffer because we often use the other example that if you've got a pet, a dog that's suffering, then you put them down.
I think nowadays people will go to any extreme to keep their dog alive. But it is true. I suppose the other one, of course, is the death sentence that we talked about last week.
Yes.
Moral decisions. Making a moral decision is not easy to do because you can end up with a dilemma. So here's another one, Mr. Steve. Good. What is seen as doing the right thing? So maybe a situation that comes along where you have to make a choice, and as you know, Steve, in life sometimes you have to make that decision very quickly without much thinking. So what is seen as doing the right thing is often seen as doing the good thing, as opposed to doing the wrong thing or the bad thing. So I suppose there is a situation, or many situations again, where you might have to make a decision and you might not have much time to do it. Something that you have to do very quickly, something that you have to get involved with very quickly. Maybe if you see a robbery taking place, maybe a person is being attacked and you are nearby, you have to do the right thing. Well, what is the right thing? Because whatever you do might also be the wrong thing. If you do nothing, that person will be attacked. if you get involved, you also might end up being injured or worse. So again, in that sense, which is the right thing? Some people might... Sorry.
I was going to say, in your example there, if you are a Christian, certainly, then you would, you're not supposed to pass by on the other side, are you? You're supposed to help. So if you're taking your moral compass from a religious point of view, then that would be a definite yes. You would if someone was being attacked, then you presumably would need to intervene. But as you say, Mr. Duncan, you might get injured yourself, and if you got killed in the altercation, then you've got a wife and family you might have to support. Actually, that's the Good Samaritan, isn't it? Aspect of the Christian religion, but I don't know whether that actually does apply to helping someone who's being robbed. I know if someone was on the other side of the street in need of help, but they weren't being attacked.
Well, maybe I think you're talking about people who are begging.
Yes, okay. Maybe if somebody, but if someone's being, I don't know if there's, that's a different situation. Another moral dilemma, of course, which is discussed a lot and has been discussed, and in fact, laws have been changed in America over this, is abortion. So there's a big moral dilemma for certainly a lot of religious groups, but not all religious groups, and not all. If you just look at Christianity, because that's all I know about, some aspects of Christianity allow it and others don't. So, there's confusion and complication there. But that's another moral dilemma now that you've brought up that, Mr. Duncan. And as we know, laws have been changed in America recently.
Yes.
As well.
Yes, but that is. But the irony there is, it is slowly being reversed in states. Separate states are now reversing that.
Yes.
So it is a very controversial subject, as these things tend to be. So
it must be an awful decision to have to make.
Got to move on, Steve.
Okay, Mr. Duncan.
What is seen as doing the wrong thing? So again, this might be something that you would describe as subjective. A thing that appears different to each individual is subjective. So, as I said a few moments ago, one person's wrong is another person's right. One person's bad action might be another person's good action. So it is very strange when we talk about these things, and sometimes that it is very hard to decide what to actually do.
Yes, and then you often don't realise until after the event that you might have made the wrong decision. But as long as you're not doing it from a point of view of being bad, it depends on where you're coming from in the first place. But some people might think that a decision you make is a bad decision. Like, for example, if you're the boss of a company and maybe your sales aren't as good as they were, business isn't as good, so you have to make redundancies. Well, some people might think, well, that's very bad because you're going to put people out of work. Families want money, somebody needs to support a family, or they might have to leave their home because they not getting a wage coming in. But then from your point of view, if you don't do this, the company might fold, it might close down, and then everyone will lose their job. And it's only after the event sometimes that you might realise that you could have gone too far. So you might have only needed really to make, say, 3 people redundant, but you decided to make 10 people redundant, and then you realise a year later that you didn't have to make all those redundant. The business picked up. So sometimes you don't know what's good and what's bad until after the event.
Yes, that's quite interesting. And we do have to make decisions every day that affect other people's lives. I'm always amazed by people who have a lot of authority because they have to make pretty big decisions every day that affect the lives of hundreds, thousands, and sometimes millions of people.
Yes.
So again, we are looking at that way of deciding what is right and wrong. The action, an action that is positive, generally speaking, is seen as good. So it could be anything that puts a smile on your face, something that makes you smile could be seen as good, an action that is positive. Maybe someone comes up to you in the street and asks, "How are you today? Are you feeling okay? It's nice to see you. It's nice to see you out and about. It's good to see you today. It's very nice to meet you again." That is a good thing to do. So anything that gives maybe a positive feeling to another person can be described as good, a positive thing.
Tatiana makes a good point that sometimes you mean to do good, but the outcome is bad. Yes, you're not being intentionally bad, but sometimes you think, if you hear some information and you think, oh, I need to, maybe you hear that, for example, you might hear that somebody at work's having an affair with somebody, and they're your best friend. Oh, and for example, you've got a best friend, and you find out, for example, that their partner is having an affair with somebody else. Now, what do? Do you tell your friend? Because what are the implications? You might think you're doing the right thing to tell your friend, and it might be the right thing, but you might tell your friend, and then they might go back and murder their partner in revenge. So the intention is good, but the outcome might have far-reaching consequences. And sometimes the timing of when you say something, or the way that you say something, might lead to a different outcome as well.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, actually. And people with authority, or people in a position of power, can also make the wrong decisions, or maybe they might even lie or cheat because they believe that whatever that thing is, they still believe it is the right thing to do. And there have been many situations in recent history where countries and governments have made decisions to do things, and later on it turned out that maybe they were just trying to do the right thing, but in fact it was the wrong thing, or maybe they tried to do the right thing for the wrong reason. So it can happen. But we generally talk about actions that are positive. And of course, we can have the opposite, of course, here. We can have an action that is negative. So again, generally speaking, Steve, on a day-to-day basis or situation, you can find things that are negative, things that might just irritate you. Yesterday there was something that irritated Mr. Steve a lot. Can you remember what it was?
Was it that car, that red car, Mr. Duncan?
Yes. You see? So even a small moment of time can be negative, or it might affect you in a negative way. So any action. So we were walking yesterday, weren't we? And the car came right by, but he didn't move over, and we were walking along the side of the road, and he was so close to us. He almost knocked us over, and you were quite angry. So you might say that was a negative thing.
Yes, a negative action, and I could have reacted to that like I do on the road when people cut me up on the road, or cut in, at the end of a long line of traffic or something, but you can take an action that is out of revenge, or because your ego's been hurt, and then it can have far-reaching consequences. So it's an action that ends up being quite negative, and you can send your mood very low as well.
Yes, it is interesting though. Even a small moment of time might be seen as negative, even if that person isn't doing that particular thing deliberately. So maybe that guy was driving yesterday and he was just driving along, just not thinking about anything. And maybe he just came a little bit too close to us. So to us, that action was a negative action. But maybe to the person driving the car, it wasn't anything.
Yes, you see,
thinking about it.
Tatiana makes a good point here again. Another good point from Tatiana today. You can do bad things sometimes, but that does not necessarily mean that you are a bad person. You might be just making bad decisions.
Yes.
Like that driver that happened to us. And it's like when you're driving along and it's people on the motorway or on the road, particularly at night, they drive right up to your, they drive like a few feet from your bumper. But sometimes maybe that's just a habit that they always drive that way.
Yes.
But you assume, what are you doing? Get off my back. And you get very annoyed. And then after a while, and it really annoys me, you might put your brake on deliberately to try and get rid of them, or you might put your windscreen washer on.
I've seen you do this.
I've done this, yes. But it may be that they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're not being bad. It's just that's the way they drive. Their driving's bad, but they're not being bad.
Yes.
They're not doing it deliberately.
Yes.
I mean, probably they are a lot of the time if they're in a rush. But if you assume they are, then you might do something that is bad and make the situation worse.
Yes. Well, I think the general point was we even if you're good, you might do something bad just by making the wrong choice. Anyway, moving on, Steve. We've only got 25 minutes left.
Good grief.
I can't believe how fast this has gone today.
That's bad, Mr. Duncan.
Well, for some people it might be good. So a good thing is something that is satisfactory, a thing that pleases you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be changing the world in a new way. It can be just something that is satisfactory. Maybe something that a person is doing for you and you are satisfied with it. It's good. Maybe at work. So situations at work where you have to do something for your boss and he's pleased. He says, yes, that's good. You did a good thing there. It's good. You did a good job. You did a good thing. You did well. That thing is satisfactory. So it isn't necessarily moral as such, but it is something that is still good. It is correct. It is accurate. It is satisfactory. So I think that can happen, especially in a workplace, a work environment, where there might be pressure on you. And then, of course, we have the opposite, something unsatisfactory. And we've all had bosses, we've all had managers, I have, Steve has, where you do things and they are not satisfactory, or you did a bad job. You did a bad job of that thing. You did an awful job, a bad job. It is not satisfactory. It is bad. Good. Now, I'm sure Steve might have some input here. To agree that something is right can also be good. For example, in a sentence, you could say, you made a good choice. You made a good choice. So what can we gather? What can we take from that, Steve? That particular sentence?
You've made a decision on something that's having a good outcome.
Yes.
You made a good choice. And sometimes, you have to make choices. I mean, these are all things where you're not being a bad person or a good person. It's just that choices you're making. And we ought to make that distinction between, good and bad. Some people are deliberately making bad decisions or doing bad things. What we're talking about here is people that just make bad decisions or good decisions. And it's not necessarily that they're deliberately trying to be bad. It's just that the result of what they do ends up being bad or good.
Giovanni says they are mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. The mistakes. Exactly, yes.
So when we talk about mistakes, we are talking about something that was done but was not intentional. You did not intend to do that thing. So even though it is a bad thing that you did, you didn't intend to do it. So that is the definition of a mistake. You did something that might have a bad outcome, but you didn't mean for that to happen. An accident is a mistake. It is something that happened, it involved you, and it had a bad outcome. But you didn't want it to happen. It was a mistake. To agree that something is right, so maybe you say that a person made a good choice, or, of course, to agree that something is wrong. You made a bad choice. And I'm pretty sure all of us here, we've all made bad decisions. Mr. Steve, myself, and maybe you as well. We've made bad decisions or bad choices. So it can happen in life. It doesn't necessarily mean you are a bad person. It just means the thing you've done is the wrong decision, or it might appear to be wrong to another person.
Yeah, sometimes people can't make decisions very well, or they don't look at all the available information in order to make a good decision. But they're not necessarily being bad. But if they're doing it all the time, I mean, yeah, exactly. So, we're making the distinction here between people who are just bad, but people who do things unintentionally that end up being bad.
Yes, that's it. So quite often it is the intention, what the person has decided the outcome should be. That is literally the definition of intention. It is the thing that you planned to do, and the result is also planned as well. So that is literally intention. But it can be good or bad by accident. So good. When we talk about people who are good, a good person, we can use the word virtuous. I like that word,
That's
by the way.
Mr. Duncan.
That's a good word, isn't it?
Virtuous. Are you a virtuous person?
Now, this is not to be confused with pious. So a person who is virtuous quite often will look at the right way of doing something. So we often think of virtuous being from a religious point of view, but it can also be just you feel strongly about what the right thing is to do. You are virtuous. Whereas pious does have a very deep-seated root in religion. It is a person who will wave their holy book and tell you that you are doing the wrong thing for a certain reason. To be virtuous.
People will often say to you, you're a virtuous person. I've had it said to me. If you're in a restaurant, for example, and you decide not to have any alcohol, everyone else is drinking and you don't, you say, oh no, I don't want to because it's bad for my health. Or you say, oh no, I'm not going to have that fatty meal. You're looking at the calories and you're counting the calories. Oh, I'll just have the fish. I'm not going to have that, that meat meal because it's bad for the animals and the planet. Or, I'm vegan. Somebody might turn around to you and say, you're a very virtuous person, aren't you? You're a person who does things in life and makes decisions based on not just looking at what's good or bad for themselves,
yes,
but what might be good or bad for other people and society or the world in general.
Yes.
Doesn't mean they're right, but they think they should be like this.
And of course the word itself has been used a lot over the past 10 years to mean a person who is doing something good, to appear better, maybe better than they actually are, which is virtue signalling, which is where you take a moral stance, but you are doing it just to appear as if you are a good person.
Yes, you virtue signal. You want everybody to think you're a good person, and you're telling everybody that by what you're doing and saying that you are a virtuous person. But sometimes you will be. I've had people say that to me. I often, if I'm going out, I won't drink anything, or at work, because my work colleagues, they're all in sales, and they like to drink a lot, and it's a bit of a culture in sales.
Yes.
If anyone's in there, and if you don't, they sort of, when they're saying to you, "You're a virtuous person," they're actually saying it's negative.
It sounds like sarcasm.
Yes, they're saying, "Oh, aren't you virtuous?" Because actually, what they're saying is that they're actually trying to put you down.
Yes.
They're trying to say, because they might not have the inner strength to stop themselves from doing what they know is probably not good for them.
Yes.
But that's a whole different debate.
It is.
If you want to drink, you want to drink. I don't say to people, I don't think it's good for you to do that, but I just don't do it.
Yes.
Sometimes I will, but yeah. But people will often accuse you of being virtuous, and it's usually used in a negative way, isn't it? Because in modern society, it's not deemed to be a positive characteristic to be virtuous.
Yeah, well, anymore. It depends how you're doing it and how you're forcing other people to go along with what you're saying. Anyway, moving on. Bad, negative, to be without virtue. The opposite of virtue is vice. Did you know that? The opposite of virtue is vice. So the virtue is the good thing. The vice, when we talk about vice, we often talk about the wrong thing, the immoral thing, and we can all think of something, I'm sure. If you are walking the streets late at night in Wolverhampton, you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Or drugs.
Yes, anything that's seen as bad, wicked, immoral. To be without virtue.
Yes, you might say to somebody, "What's your vice?"
Yes.
So everyone's got a vice, something that that they find difficult to give up.
Yeah.
Drugs, alcohol, chocolate. Could be chocolate. It could be sweets. It could be crisps. What's your vice? People will often say to you, and there's always something that we find difficult to give up.
So to be morally correct. Now again, moral. I love this word. I think moral is an interesting word to use. When we talk about morals, we are talking about guidelines. They are the guidelines of what is right and wrong. And again, you might say that it stems back to what we were talking about earlier, why we have certain rules in place, be them in law or in a religious context as well. And to be morally incorrect, things that are seen as bad. I'm going to go through these quickly, Steve.
Okay.
Because we're going to do a little thing where we're talking about what might be seen as right and wrong in a moment.
Right.
Or good and bad. So a positive character. So I would say that Mr. Steve has a positive character. He often looks on the bright side when he's with other people. But
I think I'm neutral. My father said I was a pessimist, which is somebody that always looks on the negative. I think I am. You say I'm a positive person, but I think actually I'm more a glass half empty person than a glass half full person.
I think people would say that you are positive if they knew you in public or in a public place. So your public persona or the face that you wear in public. Anyway, moving on. I've got to get these out the way, Steve, because we only have 10 minutes. In fact, we might run slightly over because I was 5 minutes late starting.
Right, okay. You're a bad person, Mr. Duncan, being late.
See, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, a negative character, a person who is often looking on the dark side or the black side of things, or maybe they are always negative, or they are moody, a negative character. Generally speaking, Steve, good is seen as right, correct, moral, helpful, kind, and generous. So I think they are all words that go with that particular subject, the subject of being good. And then, of course, we have bad. Bad is often seen as wrong, incorrect, immoral, unhelpful, cruel, or, now this is an interesting word, miserly. Miserly. I like that. A person who is not generous, a person who does not like to help other people, especially when it comes to helping them with their finances or their money. Miserly. That's a great word. You might describe Ebenezer Scrooge as miserly. That's a great word.
Yes, somebody who, yeah.
Goodness, generally speaking, is the state or quality of being good. So we might say that goodness is in someone. Goodness is in that person. They have a good character. Goodness is the noun that describes that general appearance of being a good person. Badness is the state or quality of being bad. Although, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest, badness is not actually accepted in formal English. So we rarely say badness. In fact, you won't hear people say it. But it is sometimes used in English, even though it is technically it is incorrect. Good is the right thing, bad is the wrong thing. So generally speaking, the definition. In religion, good is seen as the right path. Again, we often see good and bad. I suppose we would have evil and maybe kind or good. So you have good and evil as being opposites, and quite often in a religious sense that would be the case. In religion, bad is seen as the wrong path. We might be talking a bit more about that in a moment. Morally excellent, virtuous, righteous and pious. So I've actually put the word on the screen there, Steve, pious. A person who uses religious teachings to tell other people how to live.
Righteous, that's often associated with religion, isn't it? A righteous person.
It is.
But of course, like that and like morals, it depends on the culture, what culture you're in, and the time. I mean, morals vary a lot between different cultures, and this is the problem that throughout history religion has had. It has tried to impose its morals on other societies, and that's where we've often had lots of problems.
Yes. Well, I suppose each group wants to be right, and
yes.
neither wants to be wrong.
Well, it's still going on now. This is the problem, isn't it, Mr.
We are
Duncan?
seeing that in all its horrendous glory.
Unfortunately.
Anyway, Steve, moving on.
So in that respect, Mr. Duncan, I'm just saying in that respect, one person's morals might be seen as being bad. To try and impose your morals on somebody else or on another group or society is seen as bad. Yeah. I mean, in the past, there were all sorts of religious crusades based on this.
Steve, we're literally...
I know, but I'm just, we're running over, so I'm just wanted to add something to that, Mr. Duncan.
Okay. So bad, negative things, morally terrible. I couldn't put that any stronger if I tried. Something that is morally terrible. It is an awful thing to do. Wicked. Now, we grew up, didn't we, Steve, in the late 80s, early 1990s, and we met each other at the end of the 1980s. And wicked used to be a statement of good. It used to be a slang word for good. So when something was good, you would say, wicked. We had a wicked time last night. So the use of that word was different way back when we were young.
Whereas you would normally refer to wicked to do like a witch, the wicked witch.
Yes, just evil.
Somebody doing bad things is
evil.
A wicked person.
Unrighteous and sinful. Sinful is a word that we've heard quite a lot over the years, haven't we, Steve? For various reasons.
Yes, I mean that's obviously if someone uses the word sinful, it means that you're breaking some religious rule.
That was rhetorical, by the way.
It's associated with religion. I know, but I'm just explaining it.
So you might use good to show approval, good work on the report, or of course you might use bad to show disapproval. You did a bad job of that. You did a terrible job, a bad job. Good and bad are often seen as rivals, things that are constantly battling against each other. The battle between right and wrong, good versus bad. And it is probably one of the oldest battles that takes place on this planet, I think so.
Beatrice says, is unrighteous the same as unfair?
Ooh, unrighteous would probably be more making causing bad actions or having no morals in that sense.
Yes.
Unrighteous. So a righteous person will hold themselves to the rules. An unrighteous person will probably break all of those rules.
Namely, that's associated with religious morals, I would say. Righteousness is often associated with religion, whereas something that's unfair is something that it's a different thing.
Yes. Bad is seen as wrong, sinful, immoral, wicked, or the wrong path. And that ends that part of today's live stream. But there is a little bit more coming, Steve, because we are now looking at the phrase that we mentioned earlier, moral compass. Your moral compass. There it is now on the screen. So you can see your moral compass is the guide that everyone has. We all have a little moral compass inside us when we are making decisions on what is right and what is wrong. So
even bad people do, don't they? Even bad people have a moral compass. It's just it's pointing in a different direction. They probably don't think they're being bad, but their moral compass is different to your moral compass.
So today we are going to look at things that are good or bad, and we are going to ask this in the form of a question. We're putting it forward in the form of a question. So we are asking good or bad. So I'm going to put some things on the screen now, Steve, and we're going to decide, and you of course out there, so please don't go to sleep. I want your attention as well. Good or bad? Here we go, Steve. Are you ready? So some of these things are seen as good and some of them are seen as not so good. So here's the first one. I might have to move this slightly up. I did a good job of that, didn't
Smacking your children.
Smacking your children. So when your child is naughty, disobedient, or maybe they do something that they should not, and you want to punish them, do you smack them? Now, my parents used to smack me as a child. I would get a smack across my bottom or across my legs or sometimes across my face. That was very often, actually.
You didn't.
Punish. Smacking your children. So some people might say that that is wrong, and some people might say that that is right, a good thing or a bad thing. What do you think?
Well, again, it depends. A lot of these depend on culture, and 50 years ago.
Well, I'm asking what you think, Steve.
I'm telling you.
Yes. Is it good or bad to you?
Right now. Well, I don't think it's good or bad. Smacking, I don't know. I mean, the trouble is, in the UK now, I think it's illegal to smack your children, isn't it? I think it's actually against the law.
Yes. I think it is a...
Depends whether you mean smacking or... smacking is just...
Well, hitting.
Yes, but it's normally a smack is not designed to really hurt. It's designed to try and stop a child from doing some bad behaviour. It's a corrective action, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not parents, so we're really not in a place to.
Well, I was a
comment.
child though.
But I think it would be you'd be. It depends on many things, I would say. I think sometimes probably it is appropriate to smack a child. Yeah. But if you were to do it all the time, it probably wouldn't be. But some people will say it's never acceptable to smack your child.
Well, the live chat is very divided. Some people are saying yes, and some people are saying no. So
the thing is, you do remember.
Can I look at the live chat now, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to say you do remember when you've been smacked as a child. I do remember.
Yeah.
When my father did. My mother never smacked me, but my father did a few times. But, I mean, it's not like I'm scarred by it. I mean, beating up your children, obviously, is something different.
That's it. Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I'm just...
a little...
You keep correcting me today, Mr. Duncan.
No. Oh, no, I'm just...
I think it just depends. I wouldn't like to comment. Yeah. If I had a child that was being very naughty all the time, I'm sure eventually I would smack that child.
That's it.
To try and stop it, to correct its behaviour. It's something you would do to correct their behaviour.
Because no one is ever going to say you can beat your children up. Ever.
No, well, I'm not saying you would do. But yeah, smack is designed as corrective behaviour, just in the same way as you would smack a dog to try and correct its behaviour.
My God. Well, some people... But nowadays, Steve, that would also be seen as bad by many people.
Well, that's it. You know, it just depends. I mean, does it work? This is the proponents of the anti-smackers would say that it doesn't correct behaviour, but some people might say it would. It might put some children off doing something. I don't know. I'm not a parent. I wouldn't like to comment, but I wouldn't say it was bad.
No, that's all right. Well, I'm just looking at the live chat now, see what people are saying on there. Yes, it's hard to teach discipline now to children. I would agree with you. I think all children now are small adults, and they expect everything to come to them as it would if they were an adult. And of course, in this realistic situation, it just can't happen. Here's another one, Steve. Oh, Mr. Steve. Stealing. It is, of course, one of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal.
Well, I mean, you know, that's an easy one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. Everyone would say stealing is bad.
No.
But again, in some cultures, maybe they do it.
Yes. Well, what about a situation where you are poor and you have to feed your baby? So you go to the local supermarket and you steal some food and you put it under your coat. And then as you go out, someone catches you and then you're arrested. But all you are trying to do is trying to feed that little baby.
What? So do you think that's acceptable, do you?
You see, no. I'm not saying whether it is or not. It's just a general subject.
Yeah, but I said it was bad and you said no.
Well, I think in some situations people get desperate. And when a person is desperate, they are likely to break the rules and break the laws.
That's different, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah. So but that's what I'm saying. Morally, sometimes that compass goes round and round. You can't decide because the situation might be extreme. Maybe a mother who is having to look after a baby or a young child or maybe 3 children and she has to feed them. So she might have to go to the supermarket, or maybe they steal from other people and then sell something to others to make money so they can support their family. So it is an interesting one. I always think that's a good one. That's a good one to look at.
Certainly in most Western countries it would be the necessity to steal food for your child would be a very rare, it should be quite a rare occurrence because the state will support most people in situations where they're, say, single parents with a baby. I mean, legally it would always be seen as stealing.
Yes.
And you would be punished accordingly.
But even in law, you might find if you were caught And again, this is interesting. Even in law, if you're caught doing that, stealing, you still might not be punished harshly because of the circumstances. So I always find this quite an interesting thing how we can turn that around. So maybe if I went out tomorrow, Mr. Steve, and stole some, I don't know, maybe an iPad or an iPhone from an electrical store or an Apple store, and I put it in my pocket and ran out, that would be very hard to defend, because they'd say, well, you don't have to have that phone. You're not in a situation where you need to have that. You are stealing it. You are doing something that is clearly illegal.
It's like, if your husband beats you up and has beaten you up for years, and you've had enough of it, and you kill your husband because they're beating you up. There's been lots of cases of that. I mean, is that good or bad? You might go to prison because technically it's murder, but you might get a very light sentence because people might understand it. Fernando makes a very interesting point. What about taxation? And if you don't declare income in order to avoid paying tax, government tax, income tax, is that stealing from the government, the state?
I think this is another moral dilemma, because for some people, they have to earn a little bit of extra money, and maybe they feel as if they need that extra money. So if they start giving their money away in tax, then they might suffer in the long run. However, if you are a millionaire and you are doing the same thing, you clearly don't need to do it. You are doing it because of greed. So again, it's interesting how that moral compass can move from one way to the other, depending on the situation that is taking place.
And we all know a workman can come round and do some work for your house, and they want cash for it, rather than you writing a cheque or paying it directly into the bank.
That is just stealing.
No, to avoid tax is the point I'm making.
That's what I mean. Yes, but he's stealing from the tax man, isn't he?
Well, he is, but then you could say that the state is stealing from you.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. We get into these debates, don't we, on morals?
Yes, but the problem with morals also is quite often there are laws that control these types of things as well. So I think it's a fascinating subject.
And then people say, well, I'm paying my taxes, and there's people sitting at home taking benefits, and they see that as wrong because maybe the system is too generous with letting people stay at home and not forcing them out to work, and they have 6 children and they get all this tax. They get all this money from the taxpayer. So a lot of people will think, well, I'm going to try and avoid paying tax if I can, because I don't agree with the way the money's being spent.
Anyway, I'm not sure if a builder is a good example, because I've never seen a poor builder. Anyway.
Well, anyway, we're not getting into the debate. That's just, I'm just,
Yeah, that's good. Here we go, Steve. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Well, right.
It's on the screen,
let's not go down,
War.
What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing is what some people... Edwin Starr had a hit with that. I can't believe I remembered that, but yes, war.
I suppose it depends on who starts it.
Well, no, carry on, Steve. That's interesting.
Yeah, because, well... I don't really want to start talking about war, really.
Well, talk about one that isn't going on at the moment.
The Second World War, you could say, was Germany started it, you could say. I mean, some people might say it relates to decisions that were made decades before that led to it. But, I mean, that was, we went to war with Germany to defend... our way of life. So is that justified? Well, who knows? We'll never know where we would have been. But millions of people died in order to protect our freedom. So you could say that was morally a good thing to do.
Yes, well, that's it. But then if you hadn't done anything, millions of people would have died as well.
Yeah, that's it, though. So, there's no way of knowing.
It's very interesting. I always find these sort of things. So when we talk about war, it is the reason, quite often, for it occurring or beginning. And you're right. Actually, what you said, the first thing you said, Steve, was correct. It depends who starts it or how it starts, how it begins. So quite often you might see war as justified if it is retaliation, maybe. So again, it's a very difficult one to put into good and bad, because you have your moral compass that is constantly moving backwards and forwards. It's good, it's bad, or maybe it's good today, or maybe it's bad today. This is the problem when we talk about your moral compass. One person's just war is another person's unjust war, and that's what's interesting. So I always think the Second World War is a very good example of that, because it's one that is historical. It is a big event. It's also fairly recent as well. I know you're going to say, it's 80 years ago. It's still recent. It's still a recent event, and it's a good one to use as an example of that moral.
Usually wars are started by somebody who's trying to grab somebody else's land or their riches. So from that point of view, you could always say that war was wrong. I mean, at the moment we've got wars going on that for religious reasons, which is a different debate altogether. But quite often wars are started because somebody wants somebody else's land. They want what they've got. And so the people in charge, the leaders, are the bad people, because they manage to persuade the rest of the population that we need to go and kill all these people because we want their land.
Yes, well, that's it. But it's always been the way. So I like to think that in a period of time, because one of the problems is we don't have history books that go back 3,000 or 4,000 years. We don't have this wonderful record of how human beings behaved towards each other. But you don't have to imagine much, because you can probably come to the conclusion that things were probably a little bit violent.
Nitram hits on a good point. I mean, it must be very difficult imagine being the leader of a country and you're at war. You have to make these awful decisions on what to do for what you think is maybe going to win you the war. And when you look back, obviously a lot of questionable things will have been done.
Yes.
But at the time, it might have seemed like a good thing to do, because you were getting, you were trying to,
getting revenge.
Trying to get revenge because obviously London was being bombed and things like that. What do you do? I wouldn't like to be the leaders.
No.
In those situations, because you make decisions that affect the lives of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
So we're not necessarily going into the good and bad of a particular war, but it is interesting, isn't it? When we step back, and of course, hindsight is a luxury that we all have after the event.
Similar decision was obviously made by the American president when he decided to use nuclear weapons at the end of the Second World War. Was that good? Was it bad? Would more people have died had the war gone on for longer? There's no way of knowing.
No.
There's no way of knowing.
No. But the luxury of hindsight is, if only we did that differently, if only we did that instead. But unfortunately, at the time, it is not possible to do it.
Awful thing to do, but what would have happened had that not happened? Would the war have gone on for another 5 years? Who knows?
Yes. Well, that's it. No one knows. And that is why sometimes coming to these decisions is so hard. Here's another one, Steve.
Many more.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, okay. That's a good one to put up. Well, you're inviting all sorts of replies here on the live chat, Mr. Token.
Well, it's involved. It's involved in the.
Depends whether you're religious or not. If you're religious,
I don't. Do you think it's all about religion, though?
Well, I think if you are religious, what I'm saying is that if you subscribe to most of the major religions,
okay,
they would say that that is bad.
Yes.
I don't know any religion that says that it's good.
I don't think anyone's giving it a thumbs up. But
No.
you might find again with things like, and we are talking about homosexuality, and this is one thing that again, and I think it is something you have to mention. You have to mention, and it is there, just like war. These are things that some people have a strong opinion of, but I don't think it's always religious. I don't think it's always a religious point of view. I think sometimes people just have the reaction is emotional.
No,
well.
I agree with you there. But if from a religious point of view, it is never good, is it? There's no religion that's ever said it's acceptable.
No, but I think these days a lot of religions are tolerant or more tolerant.
Yes, there is a more tolerance.
Yes, and I think that's what I'm trying to go towards. Is for some people, even if they are religious, they might see that point of view. They are able to see the context of a type of relationship or type of behaviour. So I think these days this is why everything is so complex nowadays, because we often question things that don't need to be questioned or made into an issue. But we have to do it so people have something to talk about. But yes, I suppose from a religious point of view, but not all religions have a strong hatred, or so you might find in certain religions like Hinduism, you might find it's not so much, and I think Judaism as well. They're not exactly, although they are a bit Old Testament.
It depends on
Yes.
it depends on I mean, Tatiana makes a good point. If you believe in God, then God is supposed to love everyone. God makes everyone the way they are. You know, you don't choose your sexual orientation. You can choose your how to live your life according to that. But you could live a lie your entire life. But if you believe God made you the way you are, then how can it be bad?
Yes.
But religion is a different thing.
That's it.
Separating religion from the God aspect, it's a totally different thing.
I'm not really going from that point of view anyway. I'm just generally speaking. So I think there are people who are against things, but not necessarily because of religion. That's the point I'm trying to make. It is just their emotional reaction, how it feels when you hear something rather than something you also believe in. But yes, no, I think it's an interesting. I think this is a very interesting conversation.
I don't think from that point of view that there is. Anyway, right.
The last one is murder.
Yeah, well, yes, that's it. I mean, there we go. I mean, generally, you would think murder was bad. It's certainly one of the 10 Commandments if you subscribe to that. But again, it depends on your point of view. An example I used earlier: if your husband or your wife, is constantly beating you up, and you've had enough of it after 20 years, you've got bruises, battered. Sometimes the abuse could be mental. Relationships, there is mental abuse going on as well. If we stick to the rather easy example of the stronger man beating up his wife, and the wife's had enough after 20 years and stabs him to death in a fit of rage, is that still wrong?
Yes, and of course you have self-defense as well. So maybe you're walking down the road and someone jumps out in front of you, and you're afraid for a moment. You are scared, and you think that person is going to attack you. or maybe you feel threatened and you do something to them and they lose their life. Again, you have this strange moral compass, and that's normally where the law comes in, isn't it?
Yes, Giovanni. Yes, even with difficult neighbours, it's bad. Yes, exactly. But it's self-defence. But that's not murder, is it?
No, that's manslaughter.
Well, yes, which is a different thing altogether.
That's it.
Well, manslaughter is when you kill somebody by not intending to do it.
That's it. Yes. Well, that's what I mean. Well, self-defence would be that.
Yes, but anyway, right. But yeah, so generally murder is seen as... Anyway, yeah, it's quite obvious, really.
Okay. Anyway, I think it's quite... anyway, that's also in the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill is in there.
Yeah, we keep talking about the... Yeah.
Look, sorry?
No, it's fine, Mr. Duncan.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's all right. It's a thing that exists. It's fine, Mr. Steve. Anyway...
Yes, being gay is not in the Ten Commandments, by the way.
No, it isn't. Isn't that interesting?
It's always interesting to point that out.
I always find that interesting that in the Ten Commandments, the big thing that was written in stone, 10, being gay is not on there. However, looking at your neighbour's new car is.
Not something you should do. So
apparently looking at your neighbour's new car and feeling a little bit jealous, that is the worst sin. That is up there with stealing and killing. Isn't that amazing? That's so funny. But being homosexual is not on the Ten Commandments. It's not in there. I know what you're going to say, but Jesus wasn't down with it.
Jesus, he never mentioned it.
No, that's it. Well, that's my point. That was what I was going to say, but he didn't really sort of talk about it very much. So it's interesting, isn't it? I think this is a really fascinating... This might be the best subject we've ever had on the show, I have to say.
Self-defence is a delicate topic in Italy, says Giovanni.
Well, we haven't even talked about the different laws that exist in other countries, have we? It's amazing. So in some countries, slight crimes, small crimes that we might think are small, might be big crimes somewhere else and seen as being completely wicked and evil. So it is interesting. Anyway, I can see Mr. Steve has the look on his face that says,
I want a cup of tea.
Yeah. Can we please stop this live stream? Thank you, Mr. Steve. We'll see you next week, hopefully. And I think this has been this might be one of the best things we've ever done. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Thank you, lovely viewers across the world, and hopefully see you again next week.
That's it. So there he was. Mr. Steve is now going. He's gone. And that's it. Okay, Steve, you can go now.
Okay.
I can see he was starting to... See, what I was expecting was Steve to fall asleep. I thought he was going to nod off, to be honest, because, it's so comfortable in his corner. Thank you very much for talking with me today. And I think sometimes you have to talk about different subjects. Sometimes, as grown-up, adult human beings, you have to talk about certain things. Can we have more of these topics, Mr. Duncan? They are very conflicting and also provoking topics. Well, I'm not doing it to provoke. I'm not doing it to get attention, but I am doing it because I think it's a very good part of learning English. And it is, of course, a big part of life as well. Thank you for your company. I will see you on Wednesday. I will be back with you on Wednesday. A nice live stream coming up, and I will see you then. Thank you very much for joining me today. I know we went over slightly longer than normal, but that's okay. See you on Wednesday. Take care, and don't forget to give me a lovely like as well to show you care about what I do. That would be ever so nice. I am going for a cup of tea with Mr. Steve, and then maybe I will have a little lie down on the bed because I'm getting old. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of English saying thanks for watching, see you later, and of course until the next time we meet, you know what's coming next. Yes, you do. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a super Sunday. See you on Wednesday. And of course, ta-ta for now. See you soon.